Well, that was Anthony Clark. He's running for Congress in the 7th District. This is TCSN Live, and I got Anthony Clark with us today. Hello, Anthony.
Hello, hello. How we doing?
Very well. I'm super happy to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Truly appreciate it.
Wonderful. And thank you for running for Congress. Last year was pretty exciting. I grew up in Chicago. I grew up in Matteson, Illinois, right up Tinley Park. I went to Rich South High School, so I know that area. And right when I found out there was a Justice Democrat for new Congress over there, I was like, all right, a place that needs it very, very bad. Corruption, Chicago, they walk hand in hand. That's where corruption was invented. So there's a lot of problems in that city. So, Anthony, why don't you tell us a little bit about your campaign?
Definitely. I think in order to discuss the campaign, we just have to first discuss my background in a sense. My parents, Blanche and Ron, first and foremost. My mother, Blanche, happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers out there in the world. We truly appreciate everything that you do. I think we recognize across the country right now that women and those who identify as women are under attack with these anti-abortion bills, so on and so forth. Individuals are trying to dictate what you can and cannot do with your own bodies. So again, I just want to say happy Mother's Day. I see you all. I see all hard mothers work. I wouldn't be here and the person I am today without my mother. I'm a true 100% mother's boy. I'm not ashamed of it. Never be ashamed for those mother boys out there, except because I'm a ride or die for my mama. So again, peace, love to all moms, peace, love to all dads, so on and so forth. But again, my parents, they had dedicated their entire lives to creating opportunity for me. On a micro level, the issues that we see nationally in regard to the inability for families and individuals to make living wages, the inability for individuals to obtain educations that prepare them for the real world, life skills, so on and so forth, creating generational wealth, having job opportunities and making a living wage to take care of yourself and your families. Being able to travel throughout the country, throughout the world, and feel like you have ownership and safety and freedom. Those are things that have always been on my parents' minds. So through raising me, through watching their walks, my mother and father are not college educated, but just paying attention to their walks, of just making the ultimate sacrifice to ensure that I did not have to sacrifice. And that's just been in my mind since a kid. Since I've been maturing into adulthood, I should be able to take what I have, even though I don't have much as a Black man in this country. I still have privilege, and I should be able to take that level of privilege, build upon it, and create opportunity for others, like my parents created opportunity for myself. So that's always been, part of my pedagogy, part of my ideology. So the decisions I've made in life have played into that, paying rent, serving others. So when I left high school, I was still developing. I really didn't necessarily know who I was at the time or what I wanted to be, but I knew I wanted to make a difference. And I recognized that I felt like I couldn't let my parents down for all the sacrifices they made for me. So I stumbled here and there. I got in some trouble here and there, trying to figure things out, but ended up going into the military. So I served 6 years active duty in the United States Air Force. I'm a disabled veteran. And I think that experience of, traveling across the country and seeing how the plight of the individuals within Chicago and the Chicagoland area, they weren't unique to us. Poverty, homelessness, inequality, inequity, they exist in every state, in every city, in every town, in every village. So that was eye-opening to me, to leave the country and see how inequality manifests itself, how oppression and these isms manifest themselves. It just broadened my horizon and broadened my scope to understand that it's not enough for me to try to change things, on a micro level, if that makes sense. Like, yes, it's great that now I'm a teacher and I'm a founder and director of a nonprofit. And but at the end of the day, unless we change things on a systemic level, we're going to continue to have to help people in the same manner, because we're not changing things. We're not changing or addressing the root cause. We're just continuously attacking symptoms. So that's pretty much how I got to the point of wanting to run. I was actually nominated. I never saw myself as a politician. the work that we do in the community, because it's not I, shout out to the wonderful community that supports Suburban Unity Alliance, my nonprofit, and the work that I do as a teacher. So the work that we've done, it's really had an impact. But again, it was treating symptoms. So when I was nominated by brand new Congress and Justice Democrats in 2018, I thought about it, I prayed on it. I talked with my family about it, talked with other individuals. And I felt like this was a message. This was an opportunity for me to take the work that we were doing on a micro level and expand upon it, magnify it, and eventually address root causes. So I don't have to continue to be a nonprofit director. I don't have to continue to be a teacher getting suspended almost on a yearly basis, fighting these systemic issues on the ground, because we're truly going to create a society where everybody has life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, opportunity, and justice.
Right. All right. Inspiration right there. That is awesome. Watching that come from Chicago, go to the world abroad, get to experience the true problems in the world and realize it's not just Chicago, even though Chicago's really bad. We can look at it both ways. It's really bad, but there's places that are worse. I like that aspect. We're looking at it. So what school teaching? Well, where do you teach?
So I'm a special education high school teacher, depending upon the year. I teach subjects that range from history to math, to science, to English and reading support. I love teaching. Again, I have to always give shout out to those teachers out there. We're all teachers. We all learn every day, and we're all teachers. We all teach to someone, and hopefully we're teaching something positive. But as an official teacher, it's a rewarding field. The intrinsic rewards that come from seeing student growth, from seeing the impact that we have on kids and families, is extremely important. So I've been teaching for 9 years.
Nice.
Of it. I've taught in the city sector. I've taught CPS, alternative, charter, and now I'm at a public school in the Chicagoland area, Oak Park River Forest High School, which was actually featured on a documentary, America to Me, that appeared on Stars Network. And I was in episode 8. So, if anybody has Stars and they want to see how I get down in the classroom.
Wow.
It's on Stars on Demand, and I'm episode 8. But man, I love our students, love all my students. Shout out to you all. It means a lot that I'm able to go into a classroom Monday through Friday and impart wisdom and also receive wisdom, because I learn from my students as well.
Right. Oh, wow. You're already doing the thing. No wonder why you were nominated. You're out there teaching the kids, learning from the kids, which is wonderful, making big change. So we do have a problem in your area. And one of the problems is Mr. Danny Davis, right?
Right.
So that's who you're running against. And he's caused a lot of issues. What do you have to say about him? What's one of the reasons why we would want to change the whole situation there?
Definitely. So we just, talked about teaching, my students. And I think one of the biggest things I've learned from my students is they don't have the privilege to be patient. I think as a democratic society and as Democrats, too often we get caught in, well, it's the Democratic Party. So as long as you vote the right way, or as long as you vote Democratic, that essentially means we're serving the people and serving the community. But if you look at the nuance, and if you truly want to understand how society is structured under capitalism and white supremacy, you will see how the Democratic Party, and I'm a Democratic myself, we're failing the people. We're failing the people. If you look at the 7th Congressional District, due to gerrymandering, it's a huge district. It starts in Inglewood, goes all the way down to downtown Chicago, South West Loop, and then it spans entire communities into Hillside. So it spans the entire Chicagoland area. And it's interesting how you could literally, within this district, you can cross a street and everything changes. You can go from TIF districts where there's high investment in the West Loop and you see sprawling $1 billion buildings. You see expansion going on with Navy Pier and so on and so forth, because of course we're bringing in tourists and it's a tourist attraction and the Magnificent Mile for shopping. And you could literally cross a street, change an area code or a zip code, and the level of opportunity drops to 0. You go to high levels of violence. You go to closed schools, closing mental health facilities. The 7th Congressional District has 4 times the national unemployment average. We have 0 infrastructure development and investment in many of the areas in our community. And if you look, you could Google this. Illinois actually has led or been second in the nation in regard to individuals leaving our state because our hardworking individuals are struggling to survive. So for me, it's in any other profession. If you have a teacher that's been teaching for 20 years, and in those 20 years, their students have underperformed, their students haven't reached their potential because it's not the student's fault. It's the teacher.
Right.
Our students learn differently. If you scaffold and understand differentiation, all students have strengths. All students have areas of improvement, but all students have the ability to succeed if they're taught correctly. So if you have a teacher that's been unsuccessful for 20 years, my thought says that teacher won't be teaching. If you look at sports, for those athletes out there and those sports fans, if you have a coach outside, I guess, of the Cincinnati Bengals coach, he just recently was for years. But if you have a coach that's coaching for 20 years, whether it's football, basketball, so on and so forth, and has not reached the playoffs, has not reached a Super Bowl or NBA championship, so on and so forth, they're not going to be coaching.
No.
But then the political realm, and somehow we allow Democratic incumbents, part of the establishment, to remain in office for decades while our communities are struggling. And it's not the community members' fault because we have so many hardworking and wonderful individuals that are boots to the ground, that are truly fighting to make a difference, but yet the communities overall have not seen improvement. And it's inevitable when you maintain status quo, or when you're not dynamic, and when you're not pushing for dynamic results and fighting for dynamic issues and building diverse coalitions.
Right.
So I think, I thank Danny for his service, but he has decades in office of just essentially sitting back and voting the right way. I mean, this is an individual who recently voted alongside Republicans to roll back sections of Dodd-Frank. So,
no, I did not know that.
Yes, you could look it up. You could Google it.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's terrible. This is an individual that has been caught on camera having backroom meetings with Arnie Duncan and other individuals that led to school closures.
Oh.
In 2018, he was not for the legalization of cannabis with a focus on racial justice.
Oh, man. What?
So again, he's out of touch with his community. He's sitting back and just checking off, how do Democrats vote? Okay.
Right.
Check. And then so many people that I feel happen to possibly be in bubbles or were in bubbles or have privilege, particularly before 45 took office, they think in their heads, well, as long as they're a Democrat and as long as they vote alongside Democrats.
Right.
And that's not the case. We have to understand involved and understand that we need true fighters. And I think we see that difference if you look at Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez compared to Joseph Crowley, the former incumbent.
Right.
Okay. Fourth in line in regards to Democratic leadership.
Yeah.
He was comfortable. He was content. And basically his message was anti-Trump. But again, let's tie that back into the work that I do on the ground. You either are fighting symptoms or you're fighting the root cause.
Yes.
And I'm a candidate that's looking to get in office and pushing to fight the root cause and pushing for improvements and not sitting back and saying, well, it is what it is. No, that's not acceptable.
Right on. Yes. So that brings me to this next question. What would be one of the couple first things, what would be the first thing or the first couple things you would do as soon as we unseat Danny and get you in to really change things and make Chicago better for everybody? How would you go about this? Briefly.
Well, first and foremost, I think there's a micro and macro level to this. I think Chicago, you've been in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
It's a barrel mentality, even with our political leadership on the ground. Our aldermanic representatives, our state representatives. So many individuals are disjointed and they don't understand the importance of building metaphorical bridges and building relationships between communities, because the health of one community impacts the health of other communities.
Right.
So that's within the 7th Congressional District, a community like Austin, wonderful residents, lovely individuals. The high levels of violence then spills over into communities like Oak Park, who historically have built up walls between each other. They haven't paid what goes on next door. And then how Austin residents, they have to spend money in Oak Park because there's food deserts, because there's high violence, because there's lack of job opportunities. They have to go elsewhere. Then their money doesn't stay in their own community. So as a representative, first and foremost, I think on a ground level, on a micro level, I would use my position and use my influence to knock down those walls, knock down those walls, and build bridges between automatic representatives, state representatives, community leadership, because we have to work together. We have to, it's an analogy I use, and then I'll move forward to the macro level. If you look out your window and you see your neighbor in their time of need, and you don't open your door and go help your neighbor, it's inevitable. It may not be tomorrow, it may not be the next day, it might even be the next year, but eventually that issue is going to be at your doorstep. And because you didn't help somebody in the past, there will not be anyone there to help you.
Yes.
Not wait until an issue directly impacts us, because as human beings, all issues should impact us. None of us are free until we all are free. So on a micro level, that's what I would be working for and pushing for. And on a macro level, I think we have so many wonderful representatives in office now. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
Bill Cortez.
Right.
Ayanna Presley.
Right.
We can continue down this list of awesome, dope individuals. I want to get in office and, again, help empower them, because they're already fighting.
Right. They need people. They need more people on their side. They need you. Anthony, you're one of my favorite. You're so passionate. You're doing the thing. Like, you're out there, you're teaching, you're nonprofit, you've served. I mean, you're doing it, and you're passionate. You're always doing it. I've been watching you since I learned about you. And I'm like, wow, this guy is just always doing the next step, always fighting. And your energy is so wonderful that I think everyone needs to get behind you. We need nationwide. Remember, everybody out there, you don't have to live in Illinois to donate to Anthony Clark. So we're going to have links below, and we're asking for you to donate whatever little you can, because we can get another one in there to fight with AOC and all of them. It's going to be slow to take this over, but if we don't do it this way, we're going to lose. Everyone's going to lose. The Republicans are not even a party anymore. They're the most dangerous thing in this country, and the Democrats are enabling them. So we, as Democrats, are a progressive caucus, and we are going to get people like Anthony Clark in there to make a difference.
Definitely, I appreciate that. You hit the nail on the head. Again, we need all the help we can get as a 100% grassroots campaign. If we want Medicare for all, if we want the Green Deal, if we want to eliminate crippling college debt and have trade for all. These are issues we're fighting for. If we want to legalize cannabis with a focus on racial justice, if we want to, change systemically the criminal justice system, end drugs, common sense gun control, gun reform. Different issues that exist. But in order to do that, we have to recognize that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And we have to support grassroots candidates, and we have to come together and build coalitions. So I need all the help that I can get. I'm not going to be a candidate that's going to be popular with the Democratic establishment, because they speak truth to power, and we're trying to hold them accountable. So it's going to take me working with and alongside, standing in solidarity with the people. So let's do this. Learn about the movement, learn about other individuals like myself who are out there fighting. We need donations. We need volunteer time. Anything worthwhile throughout the history of life, whether it's the civil rights movement, the women's suffrage movement. We can continue on and on. It took a fight. We can no longer sit back and patiently wait, patiently knock on the door. It's time to kick the damn door down.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Let's do it. That is time. And we got a lot of people. I know you had a little good crew going last year. You did well. You did well against Danny. So that's why round 2 is where it's going to happen, because you got right around 30% of the vote, I saw. And I know you got a crew with you. We need more people on your crew. So I'm going to try to reach out to people I went to school with, high school students, my family, and I'm going to tell them to reach out to more people. I'm going to try to start sending your people away to knock doors, because I do try to raise money for the people around the nation and stuff, but I've got connections in Chicago. So I think we can get more people involved in your campaign, because your campaign really inspires me. There's so much potential, like you said there. So many people are struggling really, really bad. It's really bad in Chicago. Like, if you live anywhere else in the country and you think you're having a hard time, unless maybe it's San Francisco, New York, Oakland or something, you don't really understand the true struggles of Chicago. That place is a concrete jungle, straight up. And it has potential to be beautiful for everybody. The money's there. The ideas are there. We got Anthony Clark with the ideas. So we're going to move forward and try to get all this stuff done. Anthony, so what's coming up in the next month or so?
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of events that I'm excited about, initiatives coming up. Actually, Corey Bush. I don't know if individuals have watched Knock Down the House, but it's a new documentary that appeared on Netflix May 1st. And it follows AOC, Corey Bush, Paula Jean Swearengin, and Amy Vilela, four powerful women candidates. And of course, AOC won her race. So that has premiered. That's been powerful. So I've been traveling around supporting, Paula, Corey, Amy, in regards to the premiere of that documentary. They're actually going to travel to Chicago. Doing May 25th. So Corey and hopefully Paula and Amy will be in town.
Right on!
About the importance of our grassroots efforts. And I actually make like a brief 30-second cameo in the documentary that I'm proud of.
I saw you. I was like, yeah!
Chicago, but again, we've been there. We're family. We fought. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said in 2018, it took 100 people losing to get one person in.
Yep.
So we were all part of that fight. And
right.
based upon what we learned, as you stated in 2018, we did extremely well. Yes. And I'll be honest, we were naive. We knew we had the message. We knew we were genuine. We knew we cared, but we weren't necessarily prepared for the levels of corruption and nuance that exist within the establishment and the games that they play in order to suppress, candidates, grassroots progressive candidates. But now we have that experience. Now we have the data. We can look at the wards and the precincts that we did well in and that we need to improve in. We can make the decisions. And it's interesting. The incumbent told me this last election cycle. He literally looked at me in my face and said, I'm not going to win because I'm better than you. I'm going to win because I have 30 years of name recognition.
Oh.
That was actually his slogan. It was the name not what I'm going to do, not what I'm going to fight for, not what we need to change. I'm the name
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And then I remember your debate with him. And your debate, dude, like, you killed it. Honestly, you did. That's when I was really like, because there's a lot of brand new Congress. I saw them all and I watched them. And then that's when you stood out to me the most. Not just because you're from Chicago. During the debate, I was like, wow. And then how bad Danny really is at his job. It stood out.
Yeah, and again, I truly appreciate it because as you stated, you reaching out and making connections. We need all the help we can get. And I'm not sitting here. And again, I want to address something real quick.
Okay.
I'm not special. I'm just an individual that's tired and that wants to make a difference. We can't be in the mindset as a community that, well, if we vote somebody into office or we vote for a policy, our work is done. If we truly want to fight for people, our work is never done. Simply voting me in or supporting me is not. We have to continue. You have to hold me accountable. You have to work with me. I have to hold others accountable. We have to fight for policies and ensure that they're measurable and that they're being reached. Because look throughout history how when something gets voted on or when something happens, oftentimes we sit back and we relax, and then we allow the oligarchy, the patriarchy, white supremacy to take hold, and then they just shift the game. It's the same game played differently. Slavery ended Juneteenth, 1865. Many of us celebrate Juneteenth, but then it became slavery by another name.
Yeah.
The prison industrial complex.
Right.
The women's suffrage movement occurred. Women got the right to vote, so on and so forth. Women still are not getting paid on the same level as men. These anti-abortion bills are coming out. Look at the level of sexual assault, sexual harassment that even occurs in Congress. We have a president right now who has sexually harassed women.
Yeah.
So we have equal rights. So we cannot just rest. We have to understand if we truly want to make this world a better place for our children, you got to look in the mirror and say, am I ready to fight? And not everybody's going to be on Adam's level or my level, but we all play a role. There's a quote, if I can say this real quick. And I know people love to quote MLK and pretend like he was loved when he was alive. He was one of the most hated men on the planet, in the world, when he was alive.
That's because he was doing the good thing.
Right, because he was doing the good thing and pushing for change.
Yeah.
Favorite quotes of his is, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving forward. Now that's progress to me. That's being progressive. So to all these individuals that are watching, that will watch, that are out there fighting and playing a role, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what can I do to move the issues forward and push progress? We're all not going to fly, but as long as we're crawling, as long as we're walking, as long as we're running, moving forward, we're good and we're going to win this.
Yeah. That's right. Man, this is going to be a fun. It's going to be a long 2 years, but it's going to be a fun battle. And in the end, I'm hoping for some real good results. And funny, real quick, you told me about the accountable thing. I have someone here out in Oregon that I voted for, and then he ended up becoming a part of, not, he didn't get a seat, but he ended up becoming a commissioner here. And, I helped promote him and stuff. And then just a couple of days ago, he came out saying he was building a new jail in our town.
Whoa.
And I'm like, what happened? So now I have to hold him accountable. Now I have to go battle the guy that, so I know how that is. The fight never ends. The fight never ends. However, I don't think you would do that. I definitely think you're going to be making the big changes that we need. So,
because everything's political to me, and again, you have to hold me accountable. I have to hold myself accountable. But too often I feel, life happens, and I understand, there's so many individuals, that are struggling just to put a roof over their head. So there's so many that don't have the privilege to focus on the issues. I get that. I understand that. There's so many people struggling day to day because they're not making a living wage. We don't have a federal jobs guarantee like we should have.
Right.
Healthcare, employment, and housing all should be human rights. That's my belief.
Yeah.
We should have 0 individuals that are homeless. We should have 0 individuals out of work that want to work. We should have 0 individuals that are sick and cannot afford to take care of themselves and treat themselves. But again, we have so many, it's like a dystopian future where I honestly believe, there's so many individuals that, again, operate within a white supremacist capitalist society that want that, that world above the ground where, everybody rich and wealthy live and, in opulence and so on and so forth. And then us common folk, on the ground struggling and just, trying to make it. But we truly have to, if we can fight, if you have the ability to fight, you need to be on the front lines. I have the ability to fight, so I don't have a choice. And that's just how I view it.
I feel you.
I'm making good money, and I recognize that, and I recognize the privilege I have. And so
Right.
I have health. I recognize, even as a disabled veteran, shout out to Heinz VA for helping to take care of me.
Right on.
Relative health. So I should be able to fight. I should be on the front lines. So there's no choice. Excuse. And hold me accountable, Adam. Everybody hold me accountable. I'm holding myself accountable.
Nice.
Again, it takes an intersectional movement. We have to work together. We have to build diverse coalitions. And we just have to be out there, and I could go on and on. It's going to be more than just being an ally. Can I say this too? And I know I talk a lot, but I have a lot to say.
Dude, that's great. You're always saying what needs to be said.
Right. And I want to say this to people as well. We have to understand what real allyship means. Because I think too often, so many of us call ourselves allies, but it's in a noun form. True allies, we can't don ourselves allies. We have to earn that. We have to earn that title from those that are being oppressed, that we're trying to stand behind and help. We can't cape up and lead fights that don't directly impact us. And a perfect example of that is I'm a male. So as a man, I can sit here and say that I'm inherently complicit in perpetuating sexism, misogyny, toxic masculinity, rape culture, so on and so forth. Okay. So as a privileged male, I have to get behind the women that are in the fight and help empower them to address those issues. And I need to address men correctly, because I guarantee if it were up to women, sexism would be eliminated. Rape culture would be eliminated. Just right. If it was up to Black people, we wouldn't have racism. Right. People, that are inherently perpetuating these isms to address them. So true allyship, think allyship in verb form. What actions are you engaged in to truly stand behind those that are oppressed? It's going to take more than a Facebook post that gets likes. It's going to take more than attending a march and taking some pictures and some selfies. It's really going to take getting our hands dirty, boots to the ground, lacing our boots up, tying them tight, and marching, going forward and fighting. So I just wanted to say that as well. Think allyship in verb form.
Allyship. I love that. That's wonderful. We're getting behind the people and letting them, and then the people like me, white male, my job is, like you said, we have to fight. I'm pretty much, in my opinion, is trying to do what's right. I'm forced to fight, like you said. So what do? I get behind the people and I let them lead. And then I push, because that's, I can't lead the fight for abortion rights because I'm a man, but I can get behind the leaders and push them, like what I'm trying to do for you. I'm trying to promote you, trying to help you all I can, what little I can do. So I want to say I'm so happy you came on this morning. You really made my day. You're so inspirational, and we've got a long 2 years ahead of us. So always count on me to be there through social media and through promoting people in that area as much as I can do. You know, I won't be boots on the ground there, but I can find boots on the ground there.
Definitely.
And I want everybody who's watching to go like Anthony Clark's Facebook page. Link will be below. Go look over his website. He's a real progressive doing the real fight and trying to help the people that need help. But let's help him help them by getting him in Congress. Danny, you've done well, but your days are over. It's a new day. It's a new wave.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I truly appreciate the opportunity to share the movement, share the message. Just know we're out here fighting. You know, all power to the people, and we're going to continue.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Anthony. Everybody, this is TCSN Live. That was Anthony Clark with us. And thank you so much for coming on, Anthony. Check out all the links below. Like his Facebook page. TCSN Live.